So, folks, we have to talk about the fact that young Republicans that are coming up today within the Republican superstructure, right? Within like the Republican Party and within like the think tanks and within, Washington DC itself, um they are going through, I guess, what might be charitably called a PR disaster at the present moment, largely because thousands of private messages from young Republican staffers have been leaked, and they are like some of the most like unspeakable types of hatreds imaginable. Like we're talking like, oh no. These are the people who are being like groomed for leadership right now. And like, I know that I say that, and I know that a lot of people are going to be like, well, of course, of course that's how they are. But like, it's maybe worse than you might imagine it to be. Because like, these people have become comfortable about semi-publicly sharing these views, and frankly, like, I'm not entirely sure how we fix this problem going forward other than like a full-on resurgence of social shaming of these particular political ideas and the disempowerment of the political structures that have allowed them to actually come into positions of potential power. Right? I mean, this piece was published in Politico today, and it's insane, right? I love Hitler. Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat. Thousands of private messages reveal young GOP leaders joking about gas chambers, slavery, and rape. And just a couple of them are pictured here, but like, everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. When do we bring that side out? Also, we are officially under consideration for a Trump endorsement. I'm ready to watch people burn now. Great, I love Hitler. You're giving nationals too much credit and expecting the Jew to be honest. Are you going to do whatever it takes? I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkey play ball. If we ever had a leak of this chat, we would be cooked for real for real. When do we start bullying, dude? Kick the bitch. And everyone that endorsed but then votes for us is going to the gas chamber. Boom, they're dead. It was rape. He also hates the Jews. They love the watermelon people. Stay in the closet, faggot. This girl is fully R-slur. Yo, like, it sounds like edgy, ironic teenage racists. Yeah, no, this is edgy, ironic. Well, no, sorry, this is edgy teenage racists for sure. They're not being ironic though, right? Like they are old enough to be working for political campaigns. And there's like maybe this idea that like, oh, the 16-year-olds, they go to 4chan and they post the edgy stuff, but it's ironic. Like that, they're not doing it ironically. They're like, remember how I've talked about this and like talked about it again more recently, but like how fascists normalize this hatred is that they look for vulnerable young people who are, for whatever reason, othered from their peers. And then they try to invite them and entice them into an era, like a community where you can just be, a kind of yourself, as long as you're willing to laugh along with the bigotry and the, the racism, and like, you could also say the slurs if you want. And like, it's just like entry level to get you fully on board with their like white supremacy or their, their white nationalism or their fascism. Either way, ironic bigotry is still bigotry. Sure, but like, there is like this element of, young people who are looking to rebel and transgress, going to different parts of the internet to do that, and like being like, oh, it's just jokes, and then they go back into like normal space And like they're like, it's just jokes, because like they're trying to do it as like a bit, you know, not because it's funny, but because it's unexpectedly transgressive. And a lot of people grow out of it, but a lot of people don't grow out of it. And a lot of people just stay and stew in those communities where that they initially went to, to feel naughty, you know, and like see what it's like to be naughty. But then they get groomed into becoming like conservative, you know, monsters. And a lot of these people in these leaked messages strike me as the kinds of people where that exactly happened to them, you know? But like this reporting is wild, right? From Jason Bieferman and Emily No. Leaders of young Republican groups throughout the country worried what might happen if their Telegram chat ever got leaked, but they kept typing anyway. They referred to black people as monkeys and the watermelon people, and mused about putting their political opponents in gas chambers. They talked about raping their enemies and driving them to suicide, and lauded Republicans who they believed support slavery. William Hendricks, the Kansas Young Republicans vice chair, used the words, variations of the N-word, more than a dozen times in the chat. Bobby Walker, the vice chair of the New York State Young Republicans, and the New York State Young Republicans, by the way, are like absolutely insane. At the time, referred to rape as epic. Again, they're saying this in a professional chat. A chat between all of them together. This is what they are saying within their professional circle. They're talking about rape being epic. These aren't like minor peons within the hierarchy. These are like second in commands of entire chapters. Peter Giunta, who at the time was chair of the same organization, again, chair of the New York State Young Republicans, wrote in a message sent in June that, quote, everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. Just want to really reiterate, that's the chair of the New York Young Republicans saying that anyone who politically disagrees with them should be killed. You know, like, it's pretty crazy, by the way, that like the left is being look at all the left-wing violence that they're stoking over there. Meanwhile, like stories like this get revealed where like the actual leadership of Republican chapters is calling for the mass executions of their political opponents. And it just really demonstrates how full of shit they are, right? It really demonstrates it. It's just nuts, right? Giunta was referring to an upcoming vote on whether he should become chair of the Young Republican National Federation, the GOP's 15,000-member political organization for Republicans between 18 and 40 years old. Okay, so to be clear, he's not calling for Democrats to be gassed to death. He's only calling for fellow Republicans to be gassed to death. So that makes it better somehow? No, it's still absolutely horrible. Like, this is some Night of the Long Knives shit. I'm going to create some of the greatest physiological torture methods known to man. We only want true believers, he continued. 2 members of the chat responded. When do we start bullying, dude? We have a solid 3 people who probably have them want to jump. If they vote for us, why would they be gassed? When do we bring that side out? I'm going to create some of the greatest physiological torture methods known to man. We only want true believers. Can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic. I'm ready to watch people burn now. We gotta pretend that we like them. Hey, come on in, take a nice shower and relax. Boom, they're dead. Like, no, they're like actually like, this isn't like a one-off comment. They're like actually sitting there and collectively like imagining a mass execution of their political, I guess, people who are ostensibly their political allies. Like, this is, like I told you guys, whatever you think going into this, like, oh yeah, I know, you're wrong. You're just wrong. These people are insane. The fact that they are allowed to like work their way up as like staffers when like this is the kind of shit that they are talking about in private and somewhat publicly, like, this is insane. Oh, also, yeah, can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic. Joe Maligno, who previously identified himself as the general counsel for the New York State Young Republicans, wrote back. Like, we're not talking like, oh, these are just a bunch of nobodies in the organization. We're talking like they're lawyers. We're the ones participating in this. They're lawyers. The people who should have been saying, no, guys, under no circumstances should you be saying things like this in a professional work chat, is like actively participating and being like, yeah, what if we could kill our political enemies? Wouldn't that be rad? Well, how do we make it more aesthetically pleasing when we kill them? Like, that's what they're doing, man. It's nuts. That's nuts. Even the lawyers. I'm ready to watch people burn now, Annie K. Katie, New York's national committee member, said. And, like, I do want to really hammer home here that, like, some of these people that are listed here, like, their full-time jobs are not, oh, I am working full-time on a political campaign. That's not their full-time. These people have jobs outside of organizing with the Young Republicans, right? These people have jobs outside of that. So, like, there was information that came out that this Annie K. Katie person for New York's national committee member who's talking about being ready to watch people burn, she's like a school counselor. Like, these people are talking about, like, burning people alive and, like, doing massacres, and they're, like, working in communities with people, you know? Like, this is not an organization that should be allowed to come back from this. You know, this isn't, I mean, like, I'm just flabbergasted. Like, all of these people should lose their jobs. All of these people should never be allowed to work within politics. Like, my God. And, like, we're not even really beyond, like, the opening salvo of this piece, because it goes much farther. All right, let's keep looking through this. Right. The exchange is part of a trove of Telegram chats obtained by Politico and spanning more than 7 months of messages among young Republican leaders in New York, Kansas, Arizona, and Vermont. The chat offers an unfiltered look on how a new generation of GOP activists talk when they think no one is listening. Since Politico began making inquiries, one member of the group chat is no longer employed at their job, and another's job offer was rescinded. Prominent New York Republicans, including Representative Elise Stefanik and State Senate Minority Leader Rob Ort, have denounced the chat. And festering resentments among young Republicans have now turned into public recriminations, including allegations of character assassination and extortion. Like, this is like imploding rapidly for basically all of the people who participated in this. Because Politico obtained 2,900 pages of chats. That's how, like, they got a lot of documentation on these people. Okay? I mean, it's some shocking material. And, like, the young Republicans have issued a formal apology, of course, but, like, how can you possibly apologize sufficiently for this? How can you apologize at all, even close to what is required for trust to be restored here? Here's a quote from the Politico article. The more the political atmosphere is open and liberating, like it has been with the emergence of Trump's and a more right-wing GOP even before him, it opens up young people and older people to telling racist jokes, making racist commentaries in private and public, said Joe Fagan, a Texas A&M sociology professor who has studied racism for the last 60 years. He's also concerned the words would be applied to public policy. It's chilling, of course, because they will act on these views. Which is, yeah, like, if you're expecting these folks to not act on the views, like, where have you been? Like, these people believe these things even if they're not saying it publicly, and they are going to operate on those things. It's just, you know, it's the, what's his name? Is it Lee Atwood? Lee Atwater. You know, you got Lee Atwater basically in the 70s explaining not in the 70s, in like the 90s, explaining how like politics kind of becomes divorced from original like offensive slurs and bigotry and gets alienated from that via dog whistling by several different layers until you have plausible deniability, and then you can say one thing and mean, you know, the original bigoted thing to anyone who knows the dog whistle, right? And it's just we're just getting that. Like it's just that in 2025. You know, they have learned the dog whistles, they do the dog whistles publicly, but when they don't need to use the dog whistle, they just talk to each other openly about what they actually think and believe, you know? Here is another section of what they talked about. The group chat members spoke freely about the pressure to kow to Trump, to avoid being called a rhino, the love of Nazis within their party's right wing, and the president's alleged work to suppress documents related to wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein's child sex crimes. Trump's too busy burning the Epstein files, Alex Dwyer, the chair of the Kansas Young Republicans, wrote in one instance. Giunta claimed the release of the chat is part of a highly coordinated year-long character assassination led by Gavin Wax and the New York City Young Republican Club, an allusion to a once obscure internecine war that has now spilled into the open. These logs were sourced by way of extortion and provided to Politico by the very same people conspiring against me, he said. What's most disheartening is that despite my unwavering support for President Trump since 2016, rogue members of his administration, including Gavin Wax, have participated in this conspiracy to ruin me publicly simply because I challenged them privately. Like, they're all... Again, folks, when I talk about how all of these people are sharpening their knives to stab each other in the back, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, they are very quick to just instantly, at slightest provocation, when they think they can get away with it, stab one another in the back for greater political power or clout, you know? That's what they're doing. And we're already seeing this play out on a lower level, which indicates that there is a pretty deep crisis on the national level within this. These people are not capable of holding it together. Despite his allusions to infighting, Giunta still apologized. I'm so sorry to those offended by the insensitive and inexcusable language found within the more than 28,000 messages of a private group chat that I created during my campaign to lead the Young Republicans, he said. While I take complete responsibility, I have no way of verifying their accuracy, and I'm deeply concerned that the message logs in question may have been deceptively doctored. Oh, okay, so you're very sorry to anyone who was offended, but you're not sorry for saying those things or believing those things. And also, even if you were, maybe they were all made up and none of it is actually your fault. That's a pretty shitty apology, my dude. At least one person in the Telegram chat works in the Trump administration, Michael Bartels, who, according to his LinkedIn account, serves as a senior advisor in the Office of General Counsel within the U.S. Small Business Administration.
They are preparing for the eventual power struggle when Trump is no longer with us. Also, everyone, did you exercise today? The fascists did. Why haven't you?
It's true! Do something to better yourselves, folks. Every day. It's the secret to being a little bit happier. Not going to say it's going to cure it all, but it is, you know, seeking to better yourself is going to make yourself a little bit happier every day. There's so much bullshit mixed into formal conversations about whipping votes, social media strategy, and logistics. The members of the chat slung around an array of slurs, which Politico is republishing to show how they spoke. Epithets like the F slur, or the R slur, or the N word appeared more than 251 times combined. In one instance, Walker, who at the time was a staffer for Ort, talked about how a mutual friend of some in the chat dated this very obese Indian woman for a period of time. Giunta responded that the woman was not Indian. She just didn't bathe often, said Samuel Douglas, a state senator from northern Vermont and the head of the state's Young Republicans, replied to Giunta. These people are in charge of actual things. Every Republican should be removed from office just from proximity to these people. In a separate conversation, Giunta shared that his flight to Charleston, South Carolina landed safely. Then he offered some advice to his fellow young Republicans. If your pilot is a she and she looks 10 shades darker than someone from Sicily, just end it there. Scream the no-no word, Giunta wrote. In a statement, Ort called for members of the chat to resign. I was shocked and disgusted to learn about the racist, anti-Semitic, and misogynistic comments attributed to members of the New York State Young Republicans, Ort said. This behavior is indefensible and has no place in our party or anywhere else in public life, which is all well and good, but I get the distinct impression that he knew this was happening and decided, like, oh, it's time to throw them under the bus now that they got caught red-handed. Like, this is just a cover your own ass move. This is not like a we're sincerely going to change anything move. Like, I can't really emphasize enough that y'all need to go read this whole thing. Y'all need to go read this whole thing. Here, just another excerpt. I'm just like going through and like picking random bits here. When Luke Mosselman, the chair of the Arizona Young Republicans, asked if the New Yorkers in the chat were watching the NBA playoff game, Giunta responded, I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkey play ball. Like, these people are just disgusting. And, like, the stink of it gets over every single... every single Republican, because this is what ultimately Republicans believe. You know, this is what they want. This is the kind of people that they want in their organizations. Here's the link. I'm throwing it in chat here. Or Hendricks. Here's William Hendricks, right? Communications assistant for the Kansas Republican Attorney General Chris Kobach. You know, someone has a pretty important job. Hendricks made a similar remark in July. Bro is at a chicken restaurant ordering his food. Would he like some watermelon and Kool-Aid with that? Hendricks, again, worked as the Kansas Republican Attorney General, communications assistant for the Kansas Republican Attorney General, Chris Kobach. He said explicitly he was drawn to the chat because Missouri doesn't like F slurs. It's truly like... It's crazy. Here's another excerpt. Yeah, I had some back and forth with the VC in Michigan. Current chair is a deer in the headlights. We have a call Wednesday. Many agree. He did say, my delegates, I will vote for the most right-wing person. Great. I love Hitler. Like, these people are... these people are really the scum of the earth. And the fact that they have been so normalized and so accepted and so integrated into Republican circles and spaces is just frankly, it tells you everything you need to know about who is drawn to these places, who is drawn towards this political party. What goals does this political party further? Yeah, Kinnaman, it is accurate to describe them as traitors to freedom and traitors to the very idea of America. Oh, so they know that Hitler is far right? Yeah, I mean, all of the like winking and nudging about were the Nazis far left or far right? They fucking know. They fucking know, and they love Hitler for it. You know, like these people love Hitler. Weeks later, someone in the chat staying in a hotel asks its members to guess what room we're in. 1488, Dwyer responds. These people are literally quoting, like, Nazis that murdered Jewish people who came up with the symbology of 1488. Like, that's who they're quoting right there. And the 1488, the 14 words of white supremacy, and the 88 referencing Heil Hitler, for those of you who don't know. And, like, a lot of people are trying to dodge responsibility for this. Oh, this doesn't represent all young Republicans, but, like, I don't know. I feel like this is pretty representative of how they actually talk amongst themselves. Giunta also had expletive-laden criticism for the young Republicans in states that were supporting or leaning towards Padgett's faction, because, again, we're talking about like a factional split within the Republicans here. Minnesota, F-slurs, he messaged, continuing, Arkansas, inbred cowfuckers. Nebraska, revolt in our favor, blocked their bind and have a majority of their delegates. Maryland, fat stinky Jew. Rhode Island, traitorous cunts who I will eradicate from the face of this planet. This is the kind of Republican force that has grown under Donald Trump. These are the people who are organizing on the ground, and these are the people I need you guys, each and every one of you, I need you guys to understand that they are working towards organizing against you and your friends and your family every single day. These people get up every single day, specifically with the end goal of making your life worse, if not outright killing you. And that seemed more hyperbolic before these chats leaked, but now it's kind of like, no, that's exactly what they are doing. They get up every single day and they're like, yes, how can we eradicate the state of Maryland? Yes. How can we like gas our political rivals? And that's the thing, Night Janitor Greaves. Like, there are a few points in this Politico piece where the authors observe, like, some of these people did not actively participate in the chat, but were still party to the chat, i.e. they were in it, and they were reading it, and they didn't say anything about it. And, like, I mean, like, you got like, Kathy Hochul up here as a result of this, like, going hard, and, like, Kathy Hochul doesn't go hard for anything.
Question? Politico reported on a group chat of a bunch of young Republicans. I'm wondering your thoughts on that, and does this reflect, is it just some bad apples in this chat, or do you think that there's a toxicity around the entire party?
Some bad apples. These are the future of the Republican Party. This was so vile. It is hard to find the words to put into context that these are people who are part of a political party, one of two major political parties, and they believe in gas chambers and rape and discrimination based on the color of people's skins. These are racist, sexist, disgusting remarks. And I would say this: we have a leader from the Republican Party in this state, the highest ranking individual, who in the backdrop of all this calls our candidate for mayor, one of our candidates for mayor, a jihadist and a terrorist, and then somehow says, oh, what they said, these young Republicans, was wrong. Like, look at what you say yourself. Look at your inflammatory words. And maybe they have an effect on these young people, many of whom you support and have supported you. And you ought to just do a little re-examination of how far this has gone, where this is normalized enough that thousands of texts are uncovered. This is not one person saying they love Hitler. This is a whole lot of people saying things that are so disgusting and so abhorrent that everybody from the president on down should condemn them. And there's got to be consequences. Kick them out of the party. Take away their official roles. Stop using them as campaign advisors. There needs to be consequences. This bullshit has to stop. Thank you.
And I mean, like, Kathy Hochul does not get many mic drop moments, mostly because she sucks. She is one of those corporate Democrat types. But that being said, the fact that she's accurately able to, like, stay up there and basically be like, no, this is in fact very representative of what up-and-coming Republicans actually are. You can't say this is a few bad apples when these are the people literally leading entire branches of, like, the Republican organizational movement on the ground. You can't say that it's just a couple bad apples. They're like the only apples. They're the ones on top of the barrel. It's nuts. It's just nuts. I mean, here I'm going to end with just talking about this section right here, which is in Politico, the Politico piece. It's under the not byline, but subheader, vicious words for enemies. Members of the Telegram chat speak about their personal lives too. Extensive discussions about their everyday lives include one exchange about how devoutly Catholic some chat members are and how often they attend church. Many of the slurs, epithets, and violent language used in the chat often appear to be intended as jokes. Mosman was derided by members of the chat as a number of racial slurs that I'm not going to repeat here. Stay in the closet, F slur. Walker of New York also jested in July, though he is the group's main target for the same epithet. The group used slurs against Asians too. My people built the train tracks with the Chinese, Walker says at one point, referring to his Italian ancestors. Let his people goes, Maligno responds. Keep the C slur for Chinese people, though. In another instance, Mosman tells the group that the Spanish came to America and had sex with every single woman. Sex is gay, Dwyer writes. Sex? It was rape, Mosman replies. Epic, Walker says. I mean, there's more explicit malice in some phrases too, especially when they turn their ire on opponents outside the chat, such as the leader of the rival Grow Young Republican slate, Hayden Paget, who defeated Giunta and was re-elected chairman of the Young Republican National Federation this summer. So you mean Hayden Efsler wrote the resolution himself? Giunta asked the group about the National Young Republicans chair in late May. Rape Hayden, Mousaman declared it the following month. I'm sorry, there's no redeeming this. And you can argue that this isn't indicative of where the Young Republicans are as a whole, as a group, but this is a lot. This is a lot of not just peons in the organization. This is a lot from people who are in positions of authority. This is a lot from people who represent the organization, and you can get the National Young Republicans chair to come out and be like, oh yeah, I condemn everyone who was mean to me. Who raised these people? Racists. Racists raised these people. But this is all just an indicator here that what is happening right now is that the far right is just become the right, right? In Donald Trump's America, in this particular time, you have a sloshing of all the ideological differences between these people into just matters of ego, right? You have matters of ego, and they are unified in their belief of annihilationist rhetoric, in their ideas of hierarchical structures related to race and gender and sex. They believe it is okay for them to denigrate people who are different than them because that's just how the world is. It's a reflection of the natural world. They view this as how it should be. And they advocate for this as how it should be. And this is not a fluke, but this is precisely why corporate Dems who are trying to attract, middle of the road voters or centrist voters, independents, etc., it's why they don't work. Because they're trying to court this demographic. And this demographic understands implicitly that there's not going to be a way for them in the Democratic Party. They know that their open bigotry is only tolerated in the Republican Party, and they know that the policy goals of the Republican Party align more with their extremist views. And so they are not going to be caught dead, even if they present themselves, publicly as moderate. They would never be caught dead voting for a Democrat. And a lot of these people, they are losing the need to mask these abhorrent views on a daily basis. Like that need diminishes. It just really is kind of demonstrative of the fact that, we're coming up to 2026 and the midterms. And what we need to do right now is we need to make sure that we are participating in primaries. The primaries that are happening right now on the city and on the state level. You need to make sure whatever's happening around you, you are involved in it somehow. Or if there's nothing going on around you, that you are volunteering for these other progressive campaigns around the country. Because right now is when we get to decide whether or not there's going to be a corporate Dem running against these absolute ghouls. Or if we are going to have a progressive champion of the people running against these ghouls. Because the corporate ghoul, the corporate Democrat is going to try and woo over the ghouls by making themselves more ghoulish. A progressive is not going to do that. And we only get out of this by pushing for actual meaningful change, not by capitulating to the worst people on earth who want to gas their political opponents. Like, I'm sorry, you cannot compromise with people who deep down want to kill you. You can't do that. It helps if you get into your local parties and deny the ghouls' endorsement. It really, really does, folks. If you want to actually get involved and do something here, there are two ways to do it, as far as I see it. Number one, join your local Dems. Okay, and I know a lot of people might roll their eyes. I know a lot of people might think, oh man, that sucks. But I guarantee you, if you join your local Dems and try to radicalize them to better politics, and if you build up enough power on that local level, you can in fact deny these corporate Dems endorsements on the local level. You can get involved and not just rubber stamp the worst, most corporate Democrat in the race. You can actually go against the party and endorse someone progressive. All right? And the other way that you can go forward is by getting involved with your DSA. Okay? And even better, get involved in both. Get involved to, radicalize the Dems from the inside and to pressure Dems from the outside. I'm preventing just such an endorsement. Dragonfly, we are all so proud of you. All right? Yeah, the corpos infiltrated the Dems, so can we. And it's so much easier for us to do it, too. Like, literally just show up to your local Dem meetings, folks. And, some of these older folks who have positions of leadership on the local level, they're just itching to give it to you, okay? So if you need help doing either of those two things, join the Discord, !Discord in any of the chats. Follow that link. And then you can reach out to Dragonfly in the Discord for help joining your local Dems, and you can reach out to Gamergy in the Discord for help joining your local DSA. You can even form your own DSA branch if there's none close by. We've had several members of the community go down that route, and it's really, really exciting. That being said, folks, this reporting is just insane. And these fascists are indeed bound to lose. Disaster suplex, and I can't think of a more fitting way to end this segment. So, like, comment, and subscribe, folks, and see you next time.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, being and plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack.